Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials, here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to talk about new ways of dealing with negative emotions. I think people understand and experience how negative emotions can get in the way of our decision making, our experience of life. And so what we want to do is be able to influence those in new ways, because I think the more we know the new ways, the more influential we can be. So I've got 4 new questions that I think can help us, because I'm a big fan of questions. I believe questions actually determine what part of the brain we're in. So when we're asking, man, why do they do this to me? Or why do I always feel this way? Or why did this? Or what's wrong with me? Or whose fault is it? Those are what are called brainstem questions. I'll call them BS questions. Brainstem questions, because they're coming from this lower 20% of the brain, the brainstem. Those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know we got these 3 parts to the brain: brainstem, neocortex, that's where we have our access to our interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, clarity, confidence, creativity, compassion, etc. And the middle part of the brain, the limbic system, that's the scanner, processor, router part of the brain. It determines whether it sends data down to the lower brain or up to the upper 80% of the brain, and one of the determining factors are the questions we ask. So I've got 4, I believe, new questions that will help us become more influential with the negative emotions we find ourselves feeling from time to time. The first one is, what is the emotion? But I think it's important to name it in a very specific way. Because when people say, man, I'm really anxious, or I'm frustrated, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm depressed, I'm angry, or I'm annoyed, we almost defining ourselves as that I am this. I suggest we change that and ask the question, what am I feeling? Okay, well, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling annoyed, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling depressed, but that's a different experience than who am I? What am I feeling allows us to have some degree of objectivity, because we're looking at feeling the emotion versus being the emotion. Important. Question number 2. How long would I like to feel this way? I love that question, because it's something that we rarely ask ourselves. Now, I think it's important to recognize we have the right to feel as bad as we want for as long as we want. Let's just name it. What, like a month, a week, a day, an hour, 5 minutes, 5 seconds? What is it? Just determine how long you would like to feel, however you're feeling. And look at the watch, look at your phone, make a determination on that, so that you know that this is how long I want to feel it. I can feel it as long as I want. I have chosen, we make choices from this upper 80% of the brain to feel it this long. So once we know what we're feeling and how long we want to feel this way, now we want to shift from a focus on the problem to a focus on the solution. All right, if I don't want to feel angry, stressed, frustrated, overwhelmed, depressed, annoyed, etc., how do I want to feel? You know, if I were choosing how I could feel in this moment, what would it be? Clear, confident, creative, happy, compassionate, excited, persuasive, influential, whatever it is. You want to get really clear about what you're going for, because we stop things from the lower brain, we start things from the upper brain. So you don't want to spend a lot of time worrying about worry, or worrying about anxiety or frustration or anger. That's trying to use a negative emotion to deal with a negative emotion. It doesn't work, throws us into the brainstem. But when we get really clear what we're feeling, determine how we want to feel, how long we want to feel it, and then get really clear, okay, here's how I want to be. And now we can talk about how we want to be, not just how we want to feel. I want to be more confident, I want to be more creative, I want to be more successful, I want to be more happy, I want to be more excited, I want to be more, whatever it is that you want to identify that and get really clear, okay, who am I when I am being that way? Have I ever been confident and happy? Well, of course. What does that look like? What does that feel like? If I were to kind of embody those feelings, what would it look like and feel like? And then the 4th question, remember we're talking about how are we feeling? How long do we want to feel that way? What do we want to feel instead? The 4th question I think is really important, and that is, how important is it that I shift from this feeling to this feeling? You know, when I'm doing my presentations, I talk about my life from the top of the mind philosophy. And I have people say, boy, this is nice, Bill, but boy, this is going to take some work. And I say, sure, absolutely. So I ask the question, if someone were going to pay you $25 million to practice this over the next 3 months, how many of you would do it? Every hand shoots up. I'd say, great. Now, without needing to be perfect, if we were going to kind of gauge how successful we'll be at practicing this, if someone were going to pay us $25 million to practice this purposefully, doesn't mean it have to be perfectly, but purposefully over the next 3 months, how many of you would take them up on that? Every hand shot up. See, what we've just done is we've made it really, really important. Someone's going to give us $25 million to do this. Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm all in. So I think the key is to make this new way of being, this more influential, purposeful way of being, important enough to give it our attention, to give it our focus, to be willing to practice it until it becomes a new habit. So if we'll recognize that our peace of mind, our happiness, our ability to make good decisions come from what I call the top of the mind, frankly, it's way more important than 25 million. We know a lot of folks who have $25 million who are not very happy or content at all. So if we could make this really, really important, in my books and my seminars, I call it our highest purpose. Because I think for a while it has to become the most important thing we do. Because when we let other things become more important, especially those things that we don't always have control over, other relationships or jobs or traffic or other people, if we make them more important than this, then here we are, right back in the brainstem, feeling less than powerful, less than influential. But if we're willing to make being the way we have chosen to be, this is not how we're supposed to be, this is not how we should be, this is how we have chosen to be the most important thing in our life for a while until it becomes a habit, I would say 2 to 4 months, then what happens is we start rewiring the brain. For those of you who have heard the phrase neuroplasticity, it means the brain is always rewiring itself. We want to make sure we're creating these new neural pathways going from the limbic system up to the neocortex and back down to the limbic system versus that limbic system down to the brainstem. If we're willing to use these 4 questions, how am I feeling? How long do I want to feel this way? How would I rather be feeling? And how important is this? I think what can happen is we can begin to bring new awareness into our ability to deal with negative emotions. Remember that quote from Albert Einstein, problems cannot be solved at the same level of awareness that created it. I'm hoping these new questions will bring new awareness to your experience of negative emotions and help you be more influential in dealing with them in the future. By the way, if you would like me to come to your organization, your church, your school, show everybody how to use the brain, be more purposeful in dealing with everything, better decision-making, leadership, negative emotions, whatever. This is what I love to do. All you got to do is go to my website, Ph.D.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Love to talk with you about that. If you like these videos, hit the like button, please. You know how everybody loves it when you like it. Share it with your friends if you feel it's valuable. So, until next time, here's to you, bringing more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.